Hello, I'm Odyssey, and today I want to show you guys something that I've been working on and having some fun with. I think it's pretty cool. It is a multi-floor horse elevator, and this is it right here, this big old behemoth thing, multicolored contraption. And yeah, so first of all, let's just go ahead and grab ourselves a horse from the stable over here so that we can demonstrate it. And yeah, so I'm just using an item frame selector here, and if you take a look, you'll see that I have all the floors color coded. So for example, if I point this arrow to the red floor, then we'll come out on that red floor, orange floor, etc. Just to test out here, let's go like in between to the green floor. So after you've made your selection, you point the arrow where you want to go. You just come right into here, hit this button, and hold forward. And there's the orange floor, yellow floor, and out we pop onto the green floor. And if you're coming in from the green floor, so like let's say we're coming in here, and we want to go to the orange floor. Well, we'll just go over here to the left, and we'll go down this water drop. And down we go, and then we'll come over here to the item frame selector, and I see the orange floor. Yeah, orange floor. We'll go to the orange floor, hit the button, hold forward, and out we pop onto the orange floor. So pretty cool. And down we go. Woohoo! Alright, so that is a demonstration of how the elevator works. Not too complicated. By the way, just right off the top here, let's talk about tutorials and stuff. I'm not going to be doing a tutorial on this. I will be putting a world download though in the video description if you want to check that out. When it comes to projects of this size, I find that anyone who does want to build it, they would rather just have a world download and then figure it out that way. Anyone who's not going to build it, well, they're not going to watch a tutorial anyway. So not really a tutorial type build, but I will go ahead and spend the rest of the video talking about how it works and explain that. But yeah, if you just want to download the world and mess with it yourself, it should be in the video description. And by the way, we'll say once you download it, I think the name of the world is actually multi-level train station as opposed to horse elevator. And you'll notice that when we look around here, there's a few other elevator designs. And this is actually in another world that I had posted a long time ago when the slime block update first came out, which has been over a year, by the way. I was looking back at that and I was really surprised to see how long ago that... Oh, pasta machine. Oh, pasta machine, you dummy. Get over here. This is why I built a stable in the first place, because these stupid horses will fall off of anything. Although it's not really a stable, it's more of a it's more of a horse gazebo. But whatever, it works. Alright, before we get into the complicated stuff and get into the redstone, let's just go ahead and start with the simple stuff and talk about the overall concept, and I'll throw some numbers at you. So the way I've spread these floors out is I've spread them out 14 blocks apiece, and there's 8 floors, so it spans a vertical height of 112 blocks. And I've been trying to time how long it goes up, or how long it takes to go up the elevator to the very top. It takes about 8 seconds to do all 8 floors, so that's about 14 floors a second, or 14 blocks a second, somewhere around there. It might be like 13, 14. It's hard to get a specific number just because yeah, it's hard to time, but it seems to be about 14 blocks per second. It's not a super blazing 20 blocks per second, but you can't really complain about 14 blocks per second. That's you know, pretty decent. And I forgot to show you, I just realized, me going up the elevator in survival mode, so that way you know that it doesn't give us any type of damage. Well, let's just go to the top. Top's fine. Yeah, so we'll go up here and you'll see that we're going up reasonably fast. And it's very reliable as well. I have not had this elevator fail on me a single time. I went too far forward. No. Now, I know it may have appeared that our horse Krim here just fell 112 blocks to his death, but that did not happen. It was a stunt. It was a planned stunt, and everything went okay. This is most definitely not a replacement horse. This is the same good old Krim Frege we all know and love. Absolutely irreplaceable. On a side note, I think I will be adding fences to these platforms before I put this world up for download. A few safety precautions never hurt. Alright, so now let's talk about the elevator shaft. So obviously we're using a 2x2 elevator shaft here, as opposed to a 1x1 elevator shaft. And you might think that we need to do something tricky with the slime blocks in order to make it work with a horse in a 2x2 elevator shaft, as opposed to a 1x1 elevator shaft, but we're actually using the very same mechanic that the 1x1 elevators use, where just one piston pops up and another piston, one piston pops out and another one pops up, and it's using a one tick 3 tick timing, so 1 tick on the up one, 3 tick on the out piston. And yeah, so you don't actually have to do anything different, and the reason for that is because the hitbox of the horse is so big. So let's take this guy over here, and let me hop off of him and go to F3B. I think that will pull up the hitbox, and you'll see that the hitbox of the horse is just absolutely massive. It's not quite a 2x2. I think it's more like a 1.7 by 1.7 or something, but it's so big that we only need one piston to pop up in order to, oh, I hate the waistline blocks do that. They start vibrating when you stand them. But you only need one piston to pop up to push the horse upwards. And yeah, it works very similar to the way the 1x1 elevator shafts do. Now you'll see that I'm using Tripwire here. And I also use Tripwire in those vertical train stations over there. The reason I like to use Tripwire in these designs as opposed to like a torch tower is because I find them to be very, very reliable. Sorry about that, had to cough for a second. But yeah, I find them to be very, very reliable. Anyone who's ever messed with an elevator design in Minecraft knows that the taller the elevator, the more unreliable it is. And that's because when you use a torch tower, you have to stay perfectly synchronized with the redstone all the way up the elevator. If at any point in time you become desynchronized with the redstone, the elevator is going to fail and you're going to come crashing back down. So the larger the elevator, the bigger the interval, the higher the probability of failure. What's nice about these tripwires here is you really only have to stay synchronized with the redstone from right here to about right there. So like 2 or 3 blocks. And because the interval is so small, the odds of you and the redstone becoming desynchronized is very low. It's very low probability. So I've never actually had it fail on me, to be honest. Even while recording and stuff, which usually makes things a little laggier. So I like it. And it also makes the design nice and easily repeatable. So here we just have some redstone coming out from the tripwire, which goes into the 1 tick repeater and the 3 tick repeater, and you just rinse and repeat that all the way up. So I like it. Okay, so now let's talk about how we are exiting the elevator shaft at our desired level. And we're doing that by the use of these gates here. This is a little bit different than the way I did it over here. Over here there was a really neat mechanic where all you really have to do is retract the piston. So let's go into the blue floor. And the minecart would just pop out on its own, right? I think it's because it recognizes the rail, but you don't have to do anything special. Minecart just pops out right there. This doesn't really work that way. The horse doesn't want to pop out. Maybe it's because the hitbox is so big or something. And that's what I was trying to do at first. I was having some problems with it. And I was starting to overcomplicate the design. I was starting to have like secondary piston systems back here in order to make the horse pop out. And then I realized, wait a second, there's a really simple solution to this. We just have gates that are closed by default. And then when we open the gate, we can just go through that gate by holding forward. So what this allows you to do is just go up the elevator. Right now we're at blue, and hold forward as you're going up. And whenever you come to an open gate, you just go right on out. So it doesn't have like an auto eject system, but holding forward is easy enough that I don't really find it to be like a design flaw. I think it's just a simple and practical solution. Go back down here. There we go. And the way we're making the gate open is here. Well, you see how the gate is closed right here. Let me set the selector to the red floor. And you'll see that when I do that, these redstone blocks right here get pulled backwards, which retract these pistons and open the gate. And that's pretty much, you know, the core mechanic. And that's really all there is to this elevator. The only thing left to explain to you is the way the vertical selector works, which is the most complicated part. I really tried to simplify it. I wanted to keep from overcomplicating it. I wanted to make the redstone as straightforward as possible, which I did. I think I accomplished that. You can take a look at this and get a pretty good idea at how it works just at first glance. But it's still a little bit complicated. What we got here is this big tower right here on the very back of the elevator. That is a signal strength tower. What that does is it takes signal strength from this item frame and it makes it go vertical, and it's very fast. It goes vertical at a rate of 14 blocks per tick. So nice and fast. That could get you from bedrock to the build ceiling in like under a second, I think, or maybe right about a second. So very fast wire. And then off that wire, you'll see these little green circuits here. And what these little green circuits do, this is the logic that determines whether or not we have selected this floor. And if it determines that we've selected this floor, it turns these repeaters off, which attracts those, etc., opens the gate. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to set up a couple demonstrations here, so I can try and better explain to you the way this vertical selector works and the way those green circuits work. So let me set that up real quick. Alright, so I've set up a demonstration over there, but real quick, I want to talk about these fence gates. Some people might wonder why they're here, and why they're facing that direction instead of this direction. One thing I noticed as I was using this elevator is that because you're always thinking about holding forward when you're going up the elevator, it's very easy to think hold forward as you're going down, just kind of like just one of those things get stuck in your head. And what happens if you hold forward when you're coming down this shaft with a horse? What will happen is the horse will catch on these ledges and it'll take fall damage, and it can even die depending on how high you fall from. But if you have a fence gate here, like, let me back out, like this. Why can't I place that? The hitbox of this fence gate will keep any of the horses from hitting on these ledges. But if you have the fence gate like this, you see how I can walk into that? The horse can do the same thing. So a horse can still potentially take fall damage if you have it orientated that way. So you need to have the fence gate like this, and that will keep any horses falling down from hitting on these ledges. And it's also very easy to walk through just like that by hitting the button. Oh, and I also I installed those guardrails we talked about, so hopefully you don't make the same mistake as I did, running off the ledge. But let's go ahead and come over here, and I will talk about our vertical signal strength tower here. So this looks really complicated. It's not. It's actually really straightforward. First of all, you'll notice we have a item frame down here, and this item frame is currently putting out 1 signal strength. And if you look up at all those indicator lights, you'll see they're all at 1 lamp. If I rotate this, they'll all go up to 2. Very quickly, like we didn't even see that. It's very fast. Go to 3. Ooh, caught it that time. So you have to look up really quickly. Like I said, this goes vertical 14 blocks per tick, so it's nice and fast. And what you can tell, just from this demonstration, is that this tower is taking whatever signal strength is being produced by this comparator, and it's just taking it up every 14 blocks. Let me put that back to 1. And this is very simple. All it is staggered half slabs with some redstone dust, and you have every repeater facing the same direction for 14 blocks. But after 14 blocks, once you get to the next one, you rotate the repeaters around the opposite direction. So every 14 blocks, you just rotate those repeaters. See, these ones are all facing this direction. These ones down there were all facing that direction, and that will take signal strength up very quickly. So that's good and all. So that's easy to understand, right? This takes signal strength up very fast and fairly simply. But how do we decode it? How do we know when we say signal strength 1 that we want this one to activate and not any of the other ones? So that's what I'll explain next, and I'll show you how those green circuits over there work. Alright, so now that we know how the signal strength tower works, the question is, how are we decoding the signal strength and making it so that when we select one floor, only that floor's gate opens and none of the other gates open? Well, there's a couple ways you can go about it, and well, I'm getting some serious lag here. What was that from? Like I was saying, there's a couple ways of going about it, and I'm going to show you both of them. The first way is this little circuit right here. So this is a 1 detector. What this circuit does is it tests the signal strength to see if it is equal to a signal strength of 1, and only then will it output. It won't output for any other signal strength. So right now we're at 0 and we're getting nothing, but if we put down an item frame and put an arrow in it, you can see we're producing a signal strength of 1 and we're outputting. But as soon as we go above that, what happens is this repeater right here turns on, which subtracts from that comparator and keeps it from outputting. So only 1 is allowed to output. So that's easy enough to understand, but the question is, how do we use this to decode for another signal strength? So let's say, for example, we want only signal strength 5 to output. Well, all we have to do is just come over here, place down another block and another comparator, and then subtract from this comparator a signal strength of 4. So right there is 1, 2, 3, and 4. So now when we go to signal strength 5, we get an output, and only for signal strength 5, because 5 minus 4 is equal to 1, and this only allows a signal strength of 1 to pass through, and nothing else. So let's say we wanted it to go to 7, so let's just bump this up 2 more times. So now we're subtracting a signal strength of 6, and now this will only output when we get to 7. So pretty easy to understand. that's what we're doing over here at every level, at least for the vertical train station. For the horse elevator, I use the exact opposite of that. This right here is pretty much the same thing as that, except it's kind of like the inverted version. This will let any signal strength through except for signal strength 1. You can see right now we're at signal strength 0 and we're getting an output. But when we go to signal strength 1, what happens is it turns the torch off, which turns this output off. But as soon as we go to a signal strength of 2, it powers this repeater, and you get the idea. It will output for anything but a signal strength of 1. And I actually like this one over here better. But the reason I chose to use this one instead is because that horse elevator over there has an inverted output on the gates, so it actually saved me a little bit of redstone to use this instead. But you can really use either one of these ideas to decode the signal. Both of them will do what you want them to do. One's just inverted and one's not. And I set up this little thing over here, and you can see right now we got the fourth. Oh, let me get that sun out of our face. You'll see right now we have the 4th floor selected, but if I move this, you'll see it's no longer selected. If I go to 1, we got the 1st floor selected, then go up to the 2, now only the 2nd floor. So you can see we're decoding the signal here, and only the floor that we want to output is being outputted. So, alright guys, so that is going to wrap it up for this video. Hope you enjoyed it, hope you liked the build. And again, there's going to be a world download in the video description, so you can come on here and check it out for yourself if you want to. But yeah, this was a fun build. Hope you guys like it. And as always, thanks for watching.